News director on this side of the camera because you've been through this before. You've covered a lot of hurricanes in the past.
I have.
Before you are our illustrious news director, you were a videographer for many stations in your earlier career.
I was out of Buffalo, New York. Covered Hurricane Charlie, Hurricane Francis in 2004. Fast forward a little bit to Birmingham, Alabama. We covered a lot of stuff out of Birmingham along the Gulf shores. So Hurricane Michael, I watched a television station go without power. Their antenna right at the building, kind of like what we have here, pitched 6 degrees, and it shut the building down for weeks and weeks and weeks. Wow. Charlie and Francis, it's amazing to watch the images and to hear you guys and AJ talk about, look at this, and you see the reporters that are out there and the devastation, and they're holding on and the wind's blowing. And what I've told a lot of our meetings today that we have with a lot of our younger journalists is, as you go to cover these and as you get into the field, it's that initial hit where it's amazing to see. Okay, and it's awful for the people there and the lives that are lost. But then you start thinking about it afterwards, and a lot of the local stations like us would cover it after the fact. And people without power, their refrigerators were full. So the food would start to rot. And then they'd throw the food out. And the food's outside in the baking sun, because a lot of times on the back side of these, that sun comes out, it's super hot, and now you've got the rodent problem. So you start factoring all of that into some of that coverage. I'll never forget, and I was so new to it, the first one for me would have been Hurricane Charlie in 2004. And I'm with anchor Keith Radford out of Buffalo, and we step out of the car, and I really didn't know what sawgrass was like when you stepped into it. So I'm looking at this person's front yard, and I step into the sawgrass, and I go down to my knees because it's so swamped all the way across. But there's a lot of the problems with the generators that you find where people forget they run the generators, they're running the generators in the garage, so you've got carbon monoxide problems. Unscrupulous people that come in to clean up. We're going to clean up your house, Kara. And they take your money and never show up.
Right.
Usually FEMA has the placards on right away that declare, hey, you're okay to clean this stuff up. But it's a lot.
So much more than just the rain and the wind that we're seeing now. I mean, it is days of cleanup and headache, like you're mentioning. We've heard AJ compare this storm to Hurricane Charlie. He said just a few moments ago, almost a direct path for these folks. We have so many people in our area that have homes down that way, and I think are so in the dark right now. They don't know what's happening to perhaps the rental property or some property they own.
That's so tough, and I leave it to the experts, the AJs of the world, John Stalins, the people who really know how to track these things. But a wobble to the left, to the right, can make such a difference for people in those areas. The bugs. You know, it's some of the memories you come out of there with, just the bugs. And knowing that without that power, you still go to the hotels, and this was the far shores of Panama City in Florida when Hurricane Michael, a Category 5 hit. But you get into the hotels, and you've had your long day, and there's no hot water. Enjoy your shower, because here you go. Yeah, and that's the media perspective on it. There are people that are suffering so much worse along the way that have those houses.
So do you think that the after effect is harder on the people than the impending fear and unknown before the storm?
I think sometimes it's a bigger story on the backside of it, to see what these people are going through. And a lot of times you see it's kind of shoved aside and off to the next big story.
Right.
But there's such a huge story on the backside of it that Amanda, it's your retirement. And you put all of your money into this, and guess what?
Exactly.
Good luck with the insurance fight and everything that goes with it along the way.
And from afar. A lot of times, though, in those after a few days, we start to see communities coming together and people coming together. So amidst all of the destruction, you oftentimes see those stories of hope and people coming together, which hopefully we'll see,
It was funny because, not funny, but in Alabama, you had Kay Ivey, the governor of Alabama, comes out, hits the streets, and she's walking around. And I had to be the one guy to ask Kay Ivey, you going to pick up a broom with everybody else and help out here? And she looked at me and kind of bristled back a little bit and said, yes, I will.
Yes.
In her deep Southern, and she did. To her credit, she did. But you're right, the stories that come out of there, with all the difficulties that you have in covering it, the heartwarming stuff that you see, and it'll be people from here, promise you, that'll pick up chainsaws and go and just show up, and don't forget about the pets. Because you get to the backside.
We've got so much to talk about on all of this.
Our Scott McDowell, our news director here at Erie News Now, a veteran of covering these type of hurricanes. Thanks for joining us.
Happy to join you today, guys.